All right, so we're going to have our investment panel on. And one big thing that scared the crap out of me as a new agent, I remember someone said, real estate agents don't retire, they just die. You ever hear that? And then I started looking around and I started looking. You want me to say it again? No. Okay, we'll do it after. But real estate agents, that's what they say, real estate agents don't retire, they die. And I'm like, what the hell's going on with that statement? I don't really like that. And then I started looking around and I started seeing a lot of the agents that I was dealing with on the other side, and they were 70, 80, one lady was 83, loved the business though. So it wasn't like she was financially not able to, but unfortunately there was a couple agents that they weren't able to retire. And I remember having a conversation with one person. I saw her at I think it was a Trustco event or something like that that I went to, and I saw her there. I won't say her name. And I said, wow, you're still in the business? I haven't seen you in a long time. She goes, honey, I can't retire. And I said, what do you mean by that? And she says, I just never, saved money. I never put money aside. I worked, and she was a very successful real estate agent. But she spent money, obviously on her kids. They overspent. She gave a lot of money out, but never really put the money in the right places. So that got me a little bit worried, and I always thought about that, and I was probably about 15, 16 years ago that I heard that statement. So why I wanted to bring up the investor panel today is because the other thing I also heard early on is that you don't build wealth selling real estate, you build wealth having real estate and buying real estate. And that really hit home for me as well. So when I talk to a new agent and an agent says to me, what would you do different? Knowing that, 25 years in the business, what would you do different? I always say I would have bought more real estate. I felt I was doing the best job for my client, my investors, giving them all these deals, and right along, I probably should have been buying some of those properties myself. And I didn't. And actually last year, one of our speakers, Gio, was talking about it and listening to him. I'm like, you know what? I'm not like dead, right? I could still do this. And I actually went and bought a couple properties based on some conversation that I had with him. But Jeff Miller has been pushing me for a number of years, and thank God for Jeff, because I had a flip that we ended up keeping, and I was out of town. There was some stuff I couldn't get to, and Jeff really walked me through that whole process. And my biggest fear was I didn't want to be a landlord. I didn't want to deal with tenants, right? I had that situation on properties I had before, and I didn't want that. And Jeff showed me how to actually structure the deal where we can actually make the cash flow work, but also have money packed into the lease to actually pay for a property manager to take care of this. So I'm glad to say that now I have 4 income properties, 2 which are under property manager, and I have not taken one single phone call from a tenant. And it's a very good investment deal that I had, and it's definitely a positive cash flow. So I really wanted to have that situation with you guys and have that conversation with you guys where last year we had a lot of great feedback, as Brian said, with Gio talking about what he did at such a young age and what he's doing to build his career. And they're going to come on up here and talk about exactly how they got started, what you need to do if you're not doing it, and some different steps and some different strategies of actually being successful doing that. So why don't we go ahead and bring up the panel. And our first panel, or I should say the first member on our panel, I'm looking at my screen, so now I'm going to have to switch the guns here, go to the sheet. Giovanni Lisi, come on up, Giovanni. Welcome, man. Yeah. All right. Gio, it's cold in here. That must be a little side joke, like something Christmas.
The Burr method.
Oh, the Burr method. Got it. Burr method. I like that. All right. Who's our second? Our second speaker is Mr. Jeff Miller, a very good friend of mine, and huge support. Come on up. Buddy? Yeah. All right, and our next one, you guys know him for messing up a lot of names at the WCR breakfast. And that is Mr. Kareem, and I'm going to say his last name right, John Dolly. Come on up. Close, right? Close?
Yes. Close.
All right, have a seat. So he said I was close. It wasn't exactly the right thing, but
Everyone butchers my name. It's okay.
you know, I know we're talking about wealth management and building wealth, and I told Kareem that, but he comes with no socks to the event. I don't know what the hell is going on with that. He's saving money.
I'm kind of known. Oh, it's not. Is that on? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of known for my no socks, so I specifically had to wear no socks today, knowing I would be up on stage.
So Kareem, being that you have the mic, why don't you go ahead and start? Tell us a little background about yourself, how you got into real estate investing.
Sure. My name is Kareem John DeLee. Everyone butchers my name. It's okay.
Okay, I got it.
Some people call me up and say I'm looking for John at Dolly Realty. That's how bad they butcher my name. So I've been doing this for 20 years. I know probably 99% of this room, and I love all you guys. You guys are all amazing. 20 years. I've been a licensed agent for 20 years. I got my broker's license after 1 year. Now I'm sure you guys know you have to wait 2 years, and it's about to be 5 years. Did you guys know that? Yeah, really? I'm the first one telling you guys this? It's about to pass with New York State, where now you have to be licensed for 5 years before you can apply to become a broker. But we're going way off subject. Let me get back to this. So 20 years. I've also been a real estate investor for about 20 years as well. I bought my first house at the age of 22. And I'm a big cash guy, so I like cash. You know, cash is key, and I'm sure you guys have heard that term before. Just like Willie said at the beginning, I also teach at Manfred Real Estate Learning Center, so I've met a lot of you guys through there as well. And when I start teaching, before I even introduce my name, I say to the class, I say, okay, so who wants to be rich? And it's all people that are getting their real estate license. And most people raise their hand, and they say, I want to be rich. So who here wants to be rich? Okay. And like Willie said, there's a lot more money owning real estate than selling real estate. And that's 100% true. And I didn't learn that probably until the age of like 28. So Giovanni over there, I mean, he's got years on me, which is amazing. But it took me years to realize that. And for the past 20 years, I've been buying real estate. And I'm a Troy guy, so I got lucky enough to be able to purchase mainly in the Troy market and the surrounding areas. And Troy has tripled or even quadrupled in the past 20 years, which is pretty amazing. So I would say it's gone up the most in value other than Saratoga in the Capital District. So, but that's me, 20 years. I'm getting old, I'm 42, I can't believe it. But we'll have some fun today, all right? Sounds good?
He's rubbing
cool.
it in, right?
Awesome.
I think he's rubbing in the age a little bit to us, Jeff.
42, unbelievable. But I feel young.
So Jeff, just real quick, I met Jeff on he was cold calling me. And he would come knock on the door, and he was in the mortgage side of things. And, you know, we were pretty loyal to who we had. And he just kept coming over. He goes, listen, I don't want all your business, but if you could just throw me a bone every once in a while that you can't put through someone else, I really appreciate it. And one day, something happened on the other side, and he happened to come knocking on the door. And we ended up giving him the business. And he gave so much support, so much value. And he's very good on educating and teaching the agents that we ended up switching to Jeff. And I've been loyal to Jeff now for, going on probably closer to 20 years. So Jeff, talk about some of the things, because this is something that, again, you gave me a lot of hope on what it could be, because you really didn't really start real estate investing until a little bit later in your career. So maybe talk about your background.
I did, yeah. I'm the old guy here. Is this on? Can you guys hear me? Yeah. Okay. I bought my first rental property 19 years ago. So I started small. I bought one property, and there was no clear-cut plan. I didn't really have a plan to buy a bunch. I just bought one. And then the next year I bought one more. And then the next year I bought one more. And then it slowly just kept going. And in a short 10 years, I kind of looked back and realized that I had 10 or 11 different properties. And I realized, okay, I think I have a business. I think I can do this. And then recently, in the last 5 years, I've pivoted a little bit. I started selling the single-family homes, and I started buying more multi-unit properties. So I just bought a 10-unit property a couple years ago, and I just recently bought a vacation property, so I'm doing some Airbnb stuff as well. So it's grown quite a bit. I obviously have a full-time job, so I'm at Sunmark, 40, 50 hours a week, so I do this as a complete side hustle. So if I can do it with a full-time job and a family and young kids, I think anybody can do it. So who thinks they can buy one property per year, right? You don't have to buy 100 per year, you don't have to buy one, and just keep doing it, just repeat that over and over again. And very quickly, you can have a pretty successful side business.
Yeah. Gio.
Thank you for having me back. I appreciate it. It's kind of surreal being up.
Notice the mustache on Gio? I don't want to point that out. but it's not on his picture. And I didn't recognize him when I saw it one day, but I won't tell you the comments I made about it, but go ahead.
It's kind of surreal being up here. 6 years ago, pretty much to the date, I actually had these three awesome gentlemen as instructors at Manfred when I was getting my real estate license. And I tell this story as motivation for those who are just starting out in the real estate industry as a salesperson or anyone even looking to maybe invest in the capital region. You know, for me back then, I would sit in that classroom thinking, when is that date going to come when I'm that name brand in the area? When are people going to recognize my name? When am I going to make it in the real estate industry? And I mean, here we are, and I appreciate having, being on this panel with these three awesome guys, and it's kind of surreal having them as instructors and looking at them as that big face in the industry. And if I can do it, pretty much anyone can do it, and the sky's the limit. It takes determination and hard work. But a little bit of background about me is I got my real estate license at 19 while going to finish up my freshman year at Siena College. Fast forward after that, graduated from Siena, and I started to, I actually met two individuals here in the capital region who are my mentors and my brokers, Vinny and Vitali at Serenity Real Estate, and they own over 350 rental units in the capital region. And that inspired me to get more into the investment side while also doing sales. And I linked up with another individual who is my business partner. His name's Sean Daly. And we started buying investment properties in August of 2020. So right during the heart of COVID, we bought our first property, which was a 3-unit in Watervliet, using a unique method, which we're probably going to talk about here shortly, called the BRRRR method. So I bought that property, and today I now own 49 rental units here in the capital region.
That's awesome. All right, so let me stay with Gio then. Let's go and talk about what your buy plan really is. Like, what are you looking for? And maybe go a little deeper on that BRRRR method.
Yeah, absolutely. So the investment properties that I purchase are normally small multifamily here in the capital region. That ranges from anywhere from a 2-family all the way up to 20 units. We kind of my biggest thing is buying it with cash up front. So I use private money. I use other people's money basically to buy the initial purchase. Then I find deals that I know I can add value to. So I want to make sure that I can add value to that property and it will appreciate during that time of adding that value, whether it's redoing the entire place, whether the inside of the apartments, the exterior of the building, or adding value by raising the rents to where they should be based on the standard of that unit and the quality of that unit. And then taking that product, that finished product of that nice redone building with good solid rents to a company like Sunmark and refinancing it out through that company and getting an actual mortgage on it, pulling my investors' money out of it 100%. Now the mortgage is with Sunmark. My investors paid back whole while I also paid them their interest over the time period of that project. And now I, in theory, have a building where all the time that me and Sean do it, my goal is to get 100% of that money out, if not more, for free in a way. So, and that's how I've been able to scale up drastically over these last 2.5 years with my portfolio.
Yeah, and I think there's a big myth out there too, right? Like we're in such a seller's market right now that there's no deals out there, right? And you've been able to find some of those deals even with the BRRRR method.
Yeah, absolutely. All my properties that I own were all off market. So anything that I purchased was never on the MLS. Most recently, and I say this to every single realtor in this room, consider me your buyer client because I'm always actively looking. I just paid, a nice agent here in the capital region got a double-sided commission on a nice 4-unit in Waterford that never hit the MLS. And they approached me first because they know I buy here in the capital region. So
If you don't mind me saying, I just want to jump in real quick. If you're an investor in this room, we joke about it. By the time it hits the MLS, it's already too late.
Yep.
If you're trying to buy investment properties for good deals. You guys get that, right? Like if it hit the MLS, it's too late. I'm not going to buy it. Typically, most of the properties we all buy are off-market deals. Because once it hits the MLS, there's too many people competing against it and too many investors who want it, and they're just going to drive the price up. And that's not what we're looking for.
All right.
How are you finding new off-market properties?
I mean, there's many ways. Obviously, the more you're out there, the more you're putting your name out there. I always said real estate agents and investment properties go hand in hand, So a lot of landlords get their real estate license and a lot of real estate agents become landlords. I use the example of like a car salesman. A great way to become a better real estate agent is by actually owning a house and by owning an investment property. You learn a lot from it. I use the example of a car salesman. Sure, you could be a car salesman and you can, take the bus everywhere. But if you actually own and drive a car, it's going to make you a better car salesman. So off-market deals, yeah, those are the best.
And it really comes down to networking. It's really, I always say your network is your net worth. A lot of the properties that I come across are individuals that, for example, that one realtor knew that I actively buy here in this area. And I'd say even this event helped that, because that helped highlight my story even more. But it's really networking and getting your face out there and connecting with the right people. And a lot of times it's word of mouth, and that's kind of your best source of advertising. Just like when you're finding a listing, how do you get listings, right? So same idea.
Yeah, I'll just jump into that quick. I agree. It's not only networking, but it's very targeted networking. So just give some real specific examples. Junk removal companies have been a huge referral source for me. I kind of focus on where I live. I buy in like southern Saratoga, Stillwater, that kind of area. So I know the code guy. Become very good friends with them. I know the county clerk's office right there. I become friends with them. So when a house falls in disrepair in the area, they're calling me first. So I think it's networking, right? It's letting people know what you do, but I found it to be very targeted. Just last week, I got a phone call from the mayor of Stillwater, and she gave me a referral on a house that's about to go into tax foreclosure in Stillwater. So the mayor called me. So I think I have a pretty good in on that. I'm not competing with anybody else on that property. So it's very targeted networking to who can give you leads that are off the market.
So Jeff, what's your buy-in plan? Because I know that every one of you have a different take on what you're looking for.
Yeah.
What makes sense for you?
Yeah, I think I try to look at it as when I'm thinking about my real estate plan. Right now, I'm interested in multifamily properties, but really, I'm just in lead generation the same way you guys are, right? So even though my plan is to buy 8 units, 10 units, and 20-unit buildings, but I'm just in lead generation. So that mayor that just gave me a referral, it's a single-family home. Right. So that might turn into a flip. It might be a rental. I'm not sure yet. So I have a plan of bigger unit properties, but when you're just doing lead generation, every house becomes a different scenario. So my exit strategy is different based on that property. Single-family homes for me are not something that I'm really keeping anymore. I tend to just flip those and then concentrate on the more bigger cash flowing properties. And I think we all do the Burr method to some level. But one tip that I have, again, I'm in mortgages and financing, get your money lined up first. So if you have a home and you have equity in it, get a home equity line. Get that lined up so you have the money in place. I use private money as Gio does, but I also use my home equity line. I use credit cards. I use whatever I need to do to buy that property to then refinance it out or sell it and pay that home equity loan off. So my home equity loan is kind of my business that I run out of.
All right, Kareem, you're talking about how you actually finance these properties, whether it be cash or private money, or what are you using?
Well, first of all, thank you for not having me share a mic, because I wouldn't want to give up my mic every time. So thanks, you guys, for taking one for the team. Thank you for my own mic. So I own about 65 units. I have 30 properties, or 65 doors, as they call it. I only became familiar with that term, doors. So let's say you own a 2-family house, okay? That's 2 units, there are 2 doors. That's how we classify it. I only became familiar with that term maybe 6, 7, 8 years ago. It's a relatively newer term from what I know. So again, I say this with all humbleness. I've been doing this 20 years. I have 30 properties, about 65 doors. I don't have any mortgages, but that's taken me years to get to that level where I don't have any mortgages on any of my properties. So I've had mortgages on the past, don't get me wrong, but thank God I've paid all them off. I don't like owing money to anyone. And of course, you guys have heard the term cash is key, correct? The best deals that you can get out there, especially in today's market and always, is cash as is, no inspections. I've won bids on properties. I've made offers on properties for $10,000, $15,000 less than someone else who's financing it, and the owner has gone with my deal because it's a cash as is deal, so that's important. So I'm a big cash guy. And I personally, I got into investing years ago because, I saw it where I said, I think I'm pretty likable, but the people who don't like me, and trust me, I have some haters, the people who don't like me, they really don't like me, like to another level. So it's funny, you know what I mean? Like, I like to say 99% of people love me, but the 1% really hate me. I don't know why a lot of times, but I got into real estate years ago because I wanted that peace of mind. I said, well, what if no one likes me again someday and no one wants to hire me as their real estate broker to either buy or sell a house? You know what? Who cares? I can completely live off my investment properties for the rest of my life. So, and I'd like to say, but remember, investing investing isn't for everyone, and I strongly say that it's not for everyone. The number one thing is, if you have a very anxious personality or you're a very nervous person, maybe owning real estate is not for you because it takes a big toll on you. It does. Also, don't underestimate, these guys own some bigger units. All my properties are single families, 2 families, 3 families, and 4 families. I own nothing above a 4 unit. Don't underestimate the power of a 2-family house. You know what I mean? Don't underestimate that power. There's a lot of value in a 2-family isn't going to make you rich. And owning real estate isn't going to make you rich overnight. But if you own it for long enough and you keep building up your portfolio, it can definitely make that happen. Because you have to crawl before you walk. So start off basic, start off simple. Make sure that you can handle owning a 2-family house before you go and buy a 16-unit apartment complex. That would be a good suggestion I would take to you guys.
All right, sounds good. Gio, you're known as the Burr Kid. Burr Kid. Who had that little thing? Who said you were cold in here or whatever? Now they don't say it. I say it, they don't say it. But the Burr Kid you're known for. So talk about that concept, because I think it's something that a lot of people in here, everyone can do it, right? If they do it that way. I mean, you did it with no money out of your own pocket. Let me just go through that concept. Is that mic on?
Is it? There we go. All right, cool. So realistically, for me, it's coming down to that Burr method. That has worked, tenfold. It's helped me scale up my portfolio. For me, it has definitely put me above anyone else my age who's investing in real estate. Most people would buy 1 building a year, realistically, based on conventional financing, which there's nothing wrong with that at all. And I think that's a great way to start. And like Kareem said, I think, having a 2-family or 3-family, and maybe even owner occupying a property and experiencing what it's like truly to be a landlord, especially if you're young and don't have to, you don't want to pay rent, and actually you can pay that rent to yourself. I owner occupy a 3-unit in Cohoes, and it's awesome. I basically live there for free, and I make another $1,300 a month while living there for free. And I'd say that is the best way for someone to start out. But for me, that Burr method has put me where I am today, and for that, I appreciate it. So BRRR. Yeah. So it means buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and then repeat. So basically, you're buying a property. Let's say it's an on-market or off-market deal. You want to make sure that it has that value-add component that you can add value to. If you're buying a market value deal, you cannot do the Burr method. It has to be something that is truly maybe in disrepair and it needs to be renovated, or it has low rents that need to be brought up to where they should be. And then you go ahead and obviously renovate and get the building looking all nice and pretty again. So for example, putting new paint on the walls, new vinyl flooring, update the kitchens and bathrooms, and get it to where it's a nice, clean place that anyone would want to live in, that you would want to live in yourself. And that's what I always say. Me and my business partner say that all the time. We want to live in the units that we rent out. And then, bringing the rents up to where they need to be based on the market rent, whether, that is, getting them up overall on where they are right now, or it's, basically matching what the market is for the rental, and then going ahead and refinancing out. So.
Okay, got it. Jeff, the financing piece is something that you're pretty strong on.
Yeah.
What should people be looking at? I mean, I know you said the equity line, but what about getting an actual conventional or some type of mortgage with that?
Yeah, you certainly can get a mortgage, a conventional mortgage, after you complete the Burr method and you want to refinance it to keep the property. I'm a big believer in a commercial type of lender. I do all my properties in an LLC. There's some big advantages of that. So when I do the refinance afterwards, I'm going to a conventional lender. Sunmark, little plug for Sunmark, we do this. There's no seasoning requirement when you do this in a business name and you're going to do the refinance. So what I mean by that is if you buy a property today for, say, $50,000, you put $30,000 into it, you do this all with private money or credit cards on a home equity loan, now it's worth $150,000 because you improved it. The day after you finish that rehab, you can go to a commercial lender, and as long as it appraises for $150,000, you can get a $120,000 mortgage in the name of your business, in your LLC. Now that LLC is probably a lot of times newly formed. So that LLC doesn't have any income, right? You just formed the LLC. So commercial lenders will have you personally guarantee it. So I personally guarantee the loan. So if my LLC doesn't pay it, Jeff Miller has to pay it, but it's in the name of my LLC. So it doesn't show up on my credit report. If you pull my credit, none of my rental property mortgages are there. It's just my own personal house. That's all that's there. So it gives you a lot more buying power, and there's no seasoning. So literally the day after I finish the rehab, I talk to my lender, we get the appraiser out there and we appraise it. And if that, you follow me on that math sequence, we only spent $80,000 on that and I got a $120,000 mortgage. So on a lot of these models, we talk about getting the rental property for no money out of our pocket. But if you do it correctly, at that refinance, I'm getting a check for $40,000. So not only did I not put any money down, I'm getting a check, and the rent are now covering that new mortgage payment. So I'm still making money monthly. And the only lesson that I have, I've made the mistake before where if it appraises too high and you pull too much money out, now you may not make money monthly because your mortgage payment is artificially higher. So just keep the math sequence to work on that. But that's kind of how we do the BRRRR method. And again, the big advantage is it's not in your personal name. So if I had all the rental properties that I have in my personal name, I don't know how I would get any additional mortgages or auto loans or anything. So I would have millions of dollars in mortgages, but none of them show up in my name because they're in my business.
Kareem, someone looking to get into just start doing this, I mean, like you did, you started off small and went through. I mean, what are some steps that you would tell people to do right out of the gate?
Well, I'm sure you guys know this. It's not an exact number, but they say between 70 to 85% of millionaires in America made their money in real estate. And I'm sure you guys have heard that term before, correct? Yeah. If you ever talk to someone who's like really rich who made their money in real estate and you say, hey, what was the hardest part about building your wealth? They'll joke with you and they'll say, the first few million. Because it's true, you know, you've heard the term money makes money. Yeah. Once you have a few million you have saved up and a few million you have that you're investing, it's relatively easy to turn that money into more money. So the hardest part is to save up that initial investment, whether you're financing the house or whether you're paying cash for it. So that's the hard part, you know? Save as much money as you can. I've always said it's not how much you make, it's how much you save. That's important. So if you want to start investing in real estate, especially at a young age, whenever anyone young comes into my office and they want to buy a house, I say to them, I go, okay, do you want to buy a single family house or a two family house? They go, well, what's the difference? I say, if you buy a single family, that's a very smart choice. If you buy a two family, that's even a smarter choice. Because, you know, like Giovanni said and Jeff said, you live in one unit, you rent out the other. Now someone else is paying your mortgage. So if you're going to get started in real estate, I mean, the hardest part investing is saving up the initial deposit. That's the hard part. So just, you know, try as hard as you can to save up that money so that you can build up wealth. And I got to admit, it does become addicting. You know, once you own two-family houses and you have 4 units or 4 doors, as we say, you know, you're like, wow, I'm bringing in $4,000 a month. This is amazing. Then you're like, you know what? I want 8 units. Then you buy more real estate. Then you have 8 units. You're like, wow, I'm bringing in $9,200 a month in income. You're like, why can't I have 16 units? And then you keep buying. I'm serious. Yeah. Like Jeff and Giovanni said, every year, just buy a couple more properties. I mean, again, I've been doing this for 20 years. I was 22, I'm 42 now. So it takes time to build up, you know, a portfolio. And it's funny because at the age of 25, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to sell everything when I'm 30. Did it happen? No. At 30, I said I'm going to sell everything when I'm 35. Did it happen? No. At 35, I said I'm going to sell everything when I'm 40. And then at 40, I'm like, oh, man, I can't believe I still own all this real estate and I'm still managing it full time because it's almost an addiction and you get addicted to the income that it can bring in monthly. So it's pretty amazing in that aspect. So the hardest part is just saving the initial investment. And we Americans, what are we bad at? We're bad at saving. We're known throughout the world as one of the worst savers in the world, this country. I mean, like 60 to 70% live in debt in America. So the hardest part is just saving the original deposit. Sorry, I talk forever.
No,
Sorry,
great
guys.
advice, great advice. Jeff? You know, steps.
Yeah,
The question was steps.
Yeah, I think
Kareem was a little long.
Yeah, I forgot the question. We were talking about Americans saving money. I was all thrown off there. As far as steps, I mentioned this before, but I think the first step is getting your money lined up, you know, and kind of, Kareem, I agree with you. Saving that initial down payment in the traditional world is the hardest part. So that's why I think that pure BRRRR method, where you're borrowing the money from a different format than a regular conventional bank, solves that problem. So again, if you have a home, get a home equity loan set up, get a Home Depot credit card, step number 1. Banks like to give people money when they don't actually need it. So get that lined up first, so then when you find the properties, there have been plenty of times where I use the BRRRR method and I'm using somebody else's money and the project goes over budget and I need to pull money from somewhere. So you want to have those things set up first. And I think the first step too is single family homes. Even though I think most of us graduate out of that at some point, the single-family home process is definitely the starting point.
Okay, Gio.
Having 3 pillars, and I'd say those 3 pillars, and I say to every investor that I work with who's looking to get into owning investment properties. Number 1 is educating yourself. In the world of investment properties or owning investment real estate, there's so many different strategies and methods that are in what's cool, it's not one size fits all. You can do Airbnbs, you can do Section 8 rentals, you could do the Burr method, you could do out-of-state rentals. So there's so many different strategies, and you can't go wrong with any of them as long as you're making money, right? The other thing is, number 2 is networking. Being able to network, again, your network is your net worth, or your net worth is your network, whatever. Network is your net worth, you guys get it. But the more that you can network with the right individuals and meet the right people, that will lead you to success, whether it's finding a private money lender, a mentor, a business partner, or even off-market deals, right? And then the last thing, the third thing, for me that has worked, whether it's in my real estate career as an agent or an investor, is having a mentor. Yeah. And having a mentor that you can learn from their mistakes and take what they did right and wrong and implement it into your strategy. Because if I didn't have a mentor, I would not be, by any shape or form, on this stage right now.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Jeff was, I told you, but Jeff was my mentor on some of the investment properties, and it makes a huge difference because you have to go where, success leaves clues. And you made a lot of mistakes, right, Jeff?
I've made every mistake in the world in this, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was to my benefit.
Can we talk property management a little bit? Talking about.
And we got to wrap up.
Okay, yeah, real quick on kind of some of the mistakes that I made. I think you guys manage your own properties. I'm terrible at that. And I did that for the first 15 years I did this. I managed all the properties myself, and I was awful at it. If someone came in and said, I'm broke, I said, oh, great, I'll rent to you. I had too much empathy, and I was terrible at it. And I was too nice, I couldn't do it. So very recently I've hired a property manager, and it's really changed my whole life. I got to a point of the amount of rentals I had that I just couldn't handle it anymore. So shifting off to a property manager, my evictions have plummeted. My rental income's actually gone up. They get more money than I was getting. They charge late fees. They actually enforce things. I never did any of those things. I was too nice. I said, I'll get you next week. I said, okay, great. Yeah, that works. So my biggest recommendation, get a property manager from day one. I've lost so much money over the 15 years, 20 years of doing this by not having a property manager. So if I could change anything, I would have done it from the very beginning.
Who do you use?
I use a couple different companies. Recently, I've used Mohawk. They're actually a real estate company out in like Fultonville area. Deanna Mancini, I don't know if you guys know Deanna. She does most of my property management now. Yeah.
Who's the guy you gave me?
Bill.
Doesn't even call me.
Bill Teague.
Bill Teague.
Bill Teague. Real Property Solutions. He has a couple of my properties as well.
He's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, we got 2 minutes, so we can take 2 questions. Yes, sir. Got a microphone coming your way. Here it is.
Come on, Willie, let's extend this a little bit. Come on, we got more time.
Hello.
No?
Kareem wants to talk more.
I just want to say my dream is also owning the property, only 31 property, just so and then quit my job, and then every day wake up just collect 1 check. And I think you already did it with 60+ unit and all pay off. I have a question for you. Why after you pay those off, why not you just continue to build more property, finance them now, and then in order to buy, to accumulate more? Because you say this game is addictive, right? And then
it does get addicting.
Yes.
I mean, well, I have the personality where I don't like owing a dollar to anyone. So that's just the kind of person that I am. And that's why I work so hard to be able to have no mortgages on any of my properties. Sure, many people have said, Kareem, why don't you refinance all your properties, cash out of it, buy a big apartment complex? Maybe someday I might do that, but I'm not at that point now. And the best part about owning real estate is, again, we all like commission checks, correct? Right? I mean, we're all working our butts off to get commission checks on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, whatever it is, how many houses you're selling. Once you build up your portfolio, it's like you're getting a commission check daily. That's the best thing about owning real estate and the residual income from that.
And can I ask one more question? So for you guys have if you use the BERT methods to borrow to refinance the money and then redo it again, what is the part that is going to make this whole chain that's gonna fall off. This basically is one after one after one, right? You buy your second house with your first house money finance. You buy your third house with your second house money finance. Which part can go off that break this chain? Like which part should we really, really pay focus on?
I think the key to the BRRRR method where it can go wrong is, remember, you're buying it, you're rehabbing it, and then you're refinancing it. If you can't get a mortgage, right? That's the risk. So we've seen it sometimes where people do that and then they go to the bank and they have a 400 credit score, or they claim zero income and they can't get a business type of mortgage. So I would definitely recommend you talk to a mortgage company and make sure that you actually can get that mortgage on the back end of that. I've seen that go wrong a few times for people.
And to add to that, realistically, if it doesn't appraise out to where it needs to be to pull out all your money, then you need to realize that you should have some sort of reserve in place to come back in order to replenish that money that's owed to the investors. So if I take the property to a place like Sunmark, and let's say I'm all in the property for $200,000 and it only appraises out for $150,000, where am I going to come up with the extra $50,000, right? So having confidence in your numbers going into it, pulling your comps before, having a good game plan, having 3 outs, and we can talk more about that at a later date because I know we're short on time, but having 3 outs, whether that's selling it, flipping it, or going ahead and keeping it, that's the most important part. So that could go wrong if it doesn't appraise out. So
One more.
Last question, Rebecca.
Emery over here.
Oh, over here. Go ahead.
I have a quick question. I know Jeff said that he has a property management team that's managing his properties. For you guys who don't have that, how are you managing and dealing with tenants? I think a lot of us, for myself, I could speak for myself, haven't gotten into that because I just don't want to deal with tenants because I've had the opportunity of dealing with them before. But how do you guys manage all of that and deal with all those tenants with your properties?
So it's mainly running it like a business. I'm fortunate enough where my team, we manage over actually 350 rental units here in the capital region already. So we do property management for other clients, but having the right people, whether it's the right contractors, knowing who to call, being able to deal with tenants through different means, and I think it's really based on experience. So you can have a crazy tenant to an awesome tenant, right? But it's being able to understand how to communicate with that person and being able to hold them accountable, like Jeff and Kareem said, is being able to hold them accountable. If they're late on the rent, make sure that they know and they get a notice, right? You can't just slack and kind of let it go. That can always play a big role into, that's why a lot of people sell their investment properties. 2 things, because contractors never show up and they're terrible at times, and tenants never pay their rent, and tenants can burn out an individual. So if you're able to persevere and overcome that and adapt just like anything in life, then the sky's the limit.
Last comment, Kareem?
Unfortunately, tenants, I don't know how to say this politely, tenants in the past few years have gotten significantly worse. I don't think anyone can deny that. Everything changed in 2019, real quick. So in 2019, pretty much the rights and protections that tenants had in New York City became the rest of New York State, to keep it simple. That's pretty much what happened. And then Corona just kind of pushed them over the edge. So yeah, I mean, the best landlords out there are the ones who say, listen, it's just business. My problem, I think that's Jeff's problem, we're too nice. That's the problem, We're just too nice and we might let them get away with too many things. The best landlords out there are just the ones who are like, listen, it's just business. Sorry, I'm your landlord. That's it. And if I could close this with anything, I'm gonna make you guys laugh. I've learned a lot of mistakes in my life as being a landlord, and I could tell stories for days at a time. If you're gonna become a landlord, don't date your tenant, okay? I'm telling you, do not listen. Learn from me. They just turned my mic off, okay? Don't date your tenant, all right? It's not worth it, believe me, okay? I learned this
I've never done that.
a couple times in my life, all right? Don't do it, all right? Trust me, okay? Giovanni, don't do it. Right?
Jeff, you want to say anything to that?
I said I've never done that. I've never done that.
All right.
That's
All right, guys.
We're good?
Thank you so much.
Checking them out.
Appreciate it, guys. Jeff, just hang out up here.
Yeah, I think I'm staying.
Yep.
Another round of applause for these guys.
Yeah.
Before you go down, you're going to come back in a second. Jeff's going to
Yeah,
stay
yeah,
up with me. Microphone. My mic's still down. Okay, test mic. Guys hear me? All right, so my takeaway from that, Jeff. I'm going to leave you up here. That's a good tip, never date your tenant. If you guys want a good tenant, true story, my best tenant ever was a stripper. She paid in cash, all ones. But I would have friends come over, offer to mow the lawn, take care of the property for free. So that's your pro tip for me. Going back to our sponsors, can we put our sponsors back up? Again, one of our top platinum sponsors that always steps up. Jeff's gonna take his investor hat on and put his sponsorship hat on. But Jeff, you guys at Sunmark Credit Union, not only are you just guys great to be business partners with, but you guys always step up to the real estate community and make things like this happen. So how about a few words from Jeff with Sunmark hat on?
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. I was just up here for a while, so I'll be real quick. The Sunmark team has a booth out here. We have Carolyn, Eloisa, and Rich are here today from the Sunmark team. Eloisa and Carolyn handle the residential mortgages, and Rich is here today to represent the commercial product that we were just talking about on the panel. So if you want to buy an investment property and do that BRRRR method and refinance it, Rich is the guy to talk to. But most everybody here are regular residential real estate agents, so the special promo that we're doing today is at the Sunmark booth. There's a bunch of flyers there that are a $500 off coupon, and it's for you to give to any clients that you're currently working with. So it's our way of saying thank you for you guys being here today. So go back to the Sunmark booth, grab a flyer, get $500 off for your clients for their next purchase. There's also a raffle to win a nice bottle of wine as well. So it's a Portuguese bottle of wine from our Portuguese sales manager, so thank you. So again, Sunmark is thrilled to be here. We're here every single year, and we'll always be here to support the real estate community. So thank you very much for having us. We appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, thank you.